at a glance, this looks like any other night out. People are mingling. The DJ is bumping. The bartender is mixing. But there's one key thing missing: alcohol. There's not a drop of it here.
We like to create an atmosphere where everybody is sober, and so you're kind of forced to sit down and actually get to know somebody without this veil of alcohol.
Elizabeth Gascoigne is the host of this booze-free bar night. She came up with the idea a year ago after deciding to go sober. Like many people, she found herself drinking too much during the pandemic, leaving her with something she calls hangxiety.
Anxiety, in my experience, is the feeling that you get the next day after drinking, even if you're only drinking a glass or two of wine. Just this residual anxiety of, what did I say the night before? What did I do? Did I embarrass myself?
It's a question her generation is posing. A recent study found they drink 20% less than millennials, who in turn are drinking less than Gen Xers and baby boomers. And it's not necessarily because they have addiction issues. They're just curious. Sober curious.
Gen Z, I think, is a generation that is really learning about mental health practices, a very pro-therapy generation. And I think they're realizing that, like, maybe the consequences of alcohol are not actually worth the mental health effects.
Here's the thing. She still wanted to go out and party, but finding a fun, booze-free option was a struggle, even in New York, where she lives.
Okay, that's good.
So she decided to create her own sober soirees, events she calls absence of proof.
When I stopped drinking, I still wanted the same nightlife experience of going out to a bar, meeting new friends, maybe dancing, all of these fun things that go along with nightlife that I couldn't find at a coffee shop or any of these other places. And so I decided to start throwing a non-alcoholic party and see who would show up.
She was shocked by the response.
The first party was crazy. We ended up having over 200 people at the launch party, which was way too many that I wasn't prepared for that, but it was great.
So great that she quit her tech job and now does this full-time. She hosts 2 or 3 events a month in New York. She recently launched in Los Angeles, and tonight is her first party in her hometown of Seattle. Sober curiosity is more than just swapping spirits for soft drinks. At this party, there's non-alcoholic wine and beer, but the zero-proof cocktails are the real draw.
The majority of our cocktails do mimic the flavors of alcoholic cocktails. So they all have non-alcoholic gin, non-alcoholic tequila, or non-alcoholic whiskey.
This is a new take on an old-fashioned.
It's not exactly the same, but it's got like the same kind of profile to it. But I gotta tell you, it goes down way easier than the hard stuff.
You might say absence of proof is actual proof of the evolution of drinking culture. Once pervasive, often glamorized.
So, let's drink to it.
But now seen more and more like smoking. Here in Canada, the sober curiosity movement is definitely brewing. Beer and wine sales are at an all-time low, except when it comes to non-alcoholic products. Non-alc beer alone is expected to grow by more than 8% each year. And at the Drive Canteen in Vancouver, they can attest to that.
This pale ale, you could pour it blind and people wouldn't know that it's a de-alcoholized product. It's so good.
Owner Doug Stephen has carefully curated his convenience store with a focus on fun, candy and snacks, jerseys and sneakers, and their top seller, beer, wine, and spirits without the booze.
As long as it's delicious, that's the biggest thing for us. We really saw the pickup occur in December of 2022, and we thought that this must be New Year's and Christmas parties and people stocking up, and then January came and it was dry January. And we just keep seeing more and more people coming through who want to kind of shift how they view alcohol.
It's clear there is a thirst for something different. And Fiona Heifer wants to quench that thirst.
This should be more on the dry of the spectrum.
She's the CEO of Sensorium, a BC-based online marketplace for alcohol-free beverages. Tonight, she's giving people a taste of what's out there.
The big takeaway I hope people get from tonight is really an expanded definition about sobriety. You could have a mindful relationship to alcohol that lets you have a drink once in a while, or you realize that you don't like it at all and you decide to leave it without having this rock bottom story.
And the sober curious are eager to sample.
I think there's something about getting something that tastes like an adult beverage. That's what I loved about it.
The growing demand for zero-proof adult beverages has drawn some to switch sides, shall we say. Tyler Harlton used to run a successful winery in BC's Okanagan Valley until he stopped drinking and shut it down in 2019.
That was my last vintage, and that was sort of the end of a chapter of making alcoholic wine.
He didn't miss the buzz, but he did miss the taste. So Tyler returned to doing what he does best, making premium wine, but this time without the alcohol.
It turns out that there are a lot of people like me or my partner that really want to enjoy premium, but to enjoy premium without the burden of the alcohol.
He partnered with Chris Paliocchini, an old friend from his winery days who grew up among these orchards. Their goal, to stay true to the grape without making grape juice and not using vinegar as a base, as many non-alc wines do.
We wanted to use actual grapes themselves. We wanted to use the fermentation process because it's the only way to unlock some of those flavors.
The challenge is removing the alcohol without losing the integrity of the wine.
Wine is quite complex. There's hundreds of different chemical compounds. We're just removing one, which is ethanol or alcohol. And when we remove that, it kind of changes how you perceive the flavor, how you perceive the aroma, how you perceive mouthfeel.
It took a year of experimentation and hundreds of tries, but finally they had it. Canada's only non-alcoholic wine made from BC grapes. They call it Ones.
What has the progress been like since you started?
It's been faster than exponential growth in terms of production, and we find we still can't keep up with demand at this point.
Were you surprised by that?
I was shocked. I had no idea. I thought it was just going to be this kind of curious side project that we talked about, but the demand and the reaction from consumers has been unbelievable. I would never have guessed this.
Since I know what wine tastes like, I wanted to see for myself how it compared.
Have a sniff and see what you smell, and you tell us if you get anything. Is it different than
never
anything?
good at the swirl.
Yeah.
Okay, this is Pinot Noir.
Yeah.
It's very, very light. It's like a very light Pinot Noir. And it's not sweet, which is great.
Yeah.
Because it's got a juiciness to it, but so it makes me think it would be sweet, but it's definitely dry.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I'm kind of mind blown right now.
Yeah. For us, it's really nice when someone has that aha moment where they could imagine this being wine.
Of course, it's not just about the taste. Customers tell Chris and Tyler that their wines help them feel included in social settings. They can pop a cork, pour a glass, and still feel like they're in the mix. Proof that life without liquor can be just as fun. And everyone, even the sober curious, can find a seat at the table.